want listings, there's no magic deal. I keep Googling best way to get listings, right? Super cheap, answers every time, 100% conversion. It doesn't exist.
Good afternoon. Greg Finigan here from Power Onward Mastermind and Coaching. Today we have a power interview with Josh Finigan. I've known Josh for I think about 6 or 7 years. Is that when we met, Josh?
Time flies. I think
I was a lot younger. I had hair. I looked like you a little bit, but you know.
You did. You had an afro.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Josh is coming to us. Josh is a solo agent, starting to build a team now. He's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yeah.
He's based out of Charlotte. I asked Josh today because he's a successful agent. Okay, I think you've done what?
Thanks.
Over 350 deals in the last 6 years?
Probably right around there.
I know Josh well enough that I can tell you that the deals he does, they are a Ritz-Carlton experience, and he treats his clients well. Where'd you learn that from, Josh?
Actually reading a book talks about Ritz-Carlton, how they actually go about their client customer service. It's called The New Gold Standard by Joseph Michelli. It just really dives into how they strive to give the best possible customer service and how it's led them to, whenever you think about luxury, you think about Ritz-Carlton, number one in the hotel industry. That's what we strive to do with our business here too.
Great. Do you mind if we talk about your business a little bit?
Yeah.
My whole goal is to bring value to solo agents out in the market that might be struggling, don't know how to do it, just getting started, or maybe they've started and they've started a small team and they're still in that, oh, what am I going to do? I'm getting too big or I'm not getting enough business. Could you walk us through how you started and what's your biggest takeaway over these last 6 years?
You and I met in Charleston back in the day. The biggest thing is talking to people. Belly to belly is the biggest thing. I had to move to Charlotte about almost 2 years ago now. And I sat down, I was like, lost all SOI, lost everything. What can I do to get now business? So I identified FSBOs and expireds. They've already raised their hand and said that they're willing to sell now. Either they have previously wanted to and failed to sell, or they just don't see the value in an agent, because I needed to have closings immediately. Really leverage that, and the biggest thing is lead generation. A lot of people get into real estate because they like HGTV and showing homes. We're lead generators first and real estate agents second. So having that as your main focus.
You hit on a topic there, FSBOs, expireds, not hard in this market to sell a house. What's your conversation with that FSBO or expired? Obviously you go through the thing, you find their telephone number, you knock on their door, whatever it is. But what's the conversation that you have?
Going down and discovering what they're looking for, right? What their main motivation is, and bridging the gap of how we can help them. So the conversation will be different in expireds and different in for sale by owners. For sale by owners, a lot of times don't know the process, don't know how much their home can sell for, don't know what they don't know. They can leave a ton of equity left on the table or be left in a very sticky situation trying to go from contract to close, or 1,000 different things that can go wrong. Expireds, a lot of times either this year talk to people and they're like, oh, well, now's just not a great time to sell. I was like, really? Are you under a rock? Now's the best time to sell ever in the history of the world. Education, just talking to them about the market. Don't know what you've been reading, but it's actually the best time ever to sell. And then bridging the gap of what they're really looking to accomplish in life, where they're looking to be. Obviously, they put their home on the market. Obviously, they started to have showings, which is never fun, right? They went through the headache of being on the market for X amount of days. If that need changed, sometimes conditions happen. Follow-up. Follow-up's a big thing that you can also get into a little bit later.
Yeah, well, I think it's the same topic. It's just about the lead generation. So you focused on what we all consider the low-hanging fruit. People that are ready, willing, and able. They just don't know, they have the know-how or, which way to go. They need direction. How many hours a day you spending on that? In this market where there's, I would take it the listings in Charlotte are no different than the listings in Charleston. We're at 1,164.
My recommendation for newer agents is if you don't have an appointment to go on, you should be lead generating. Whether that is on the phone, door knocking, any type of lead generation, you should be doing it. So when I first got here, 7-8 hours a day, I turned into an ISA because I had no appointments, I had no clients. I'm going to go ahead and lead generate as much as possible. The times that are not negotiable for lead generation is from 8 to 10, and then from 10 to 11 will be my follow-up. So that's non-negotiable. It's a Monday through Friday every single day. And then Saturdays, I would say probably 90% of the Saturdays, lead generating from about 9 o'clock to 11, maybe 12, maybe a little bit longer depending on the day. And then if I don't have an appointment in the evening time, then I'll be prospecting from about 4 to 6 or 7. A good portion of my day is spent on the phones or doing something to ensure that we're getting business.
Wow, that's amazing. You're saying from 8 to 11, lock it out, time block it. You're going nowhere. 8 to 10 is cold calling or right to FSBOs and expires, and then the follow up between 10 and 11. If you got nothing to do in the afternoon, just keep on working.
Right.
It's a pretty wild idea. In that time frame, are you using a dialer, or are you turning pages, looking up numbers on white pages? What's your strategy going into that?
If you're just starting out, right, you can go the dialer route, which that's what I do. I think it's the best tool in the world. You dial 3 people at once, it just speeds everything up. Even if you're just starting out, it's so cheap to buy the phone numbers, have somebody to actually get that information for you. There's no reason not to. I mean, it's like, I think $50 a month if you actually buy it through Mojo, and then you get to a point where you can go and try to find the best lead sources out there that can give you the most accurate information. Definitely wouldn't recommend looking up the info yourself, just because $1 per hour, if you added it up, you're like below $5 an hour. But then the next step, just buy the leads. The next step is the dialer. I love the dialer. Play, and it goes.
Sounds like most of yours is a self-produced lead. I don't hear you're spending money on paid leads coming in.
No, that is something, again, kind of getting throughout the past year and a half, 2 years, working on my business, starting to the point of working on the business rather than in the business. When I first started, it was, I need to eat, I need to have food on the table. Got to sell homes. So it was 100% prospecting based. Didn't want to start spending a ton of money on leads, things like that. So it was all prospecting based. Probably this year, SOI and past clients will be much higher, but if we look at last year, it's like 70% expireds.
70% expired.
70% expireds, 10% or so FSBOs. The rest were like random lead low and stuff
Repeats.
like that. Yeah.
May I ask what you did last year as far as volume and units?
We closed 56 units, hit right above 13 million in volume.
Fabulous. And that was just you.
Correct.
That was you dialing a phone 70% of the time, hitting on expireds, 10% on FSBOs, and then miscellaneous stuff that fell off the back of the truck.
100%. And the ROI is amazing on them as well. If you close an expired lead, I mean, you're paying maybe $200 a month, depending on the data that you actually pay for and if you buy a dialer or not. It's nothing.
It's actually the truth. I think it's one of the things that a lot of people get involved with, and they jump in and they say, we got to buy. Everybody else is buying the same lead. The guy's jumping from platform to platform. I think the lead count to 50 million people. Well, there aren't 50 million people buying a house. They're just shopping, or they're HGTVing, like you said. What'd you find the most difficult part of starting your own business? And let's go from 2 years ago when you hit Charlotte. That gives everybody that's listening a better idea of what happens when you walk into a new town and you go, hey, where am I going? I don't know anybody. You didn't grow up in Charlotte.
I grew up in a small town called Clover.
Did you grow up in Clover?
Yeah.
I actually know where Clover is. Good for you.
It's a stone's throw away.
Yeah.
I don't have an SOI. I've been gone since I graduated high school, so
Right.
I pretty much came here, really had to build something from nothing. The biggest thing I'm struggling with in working on and working to kind of better myself on is working on the business rather than in the business is kind of my biggest takeaway over the past year. Sometimes I always love just going for the hunt, getting on the phone, finding that next lead, setting the appointment, closing the appointment. But sometimes you need to stop and time block and actually work on the business, work on creating other forms of lead generation, work on spending the time to hire the right assistant, spending the time to actually build the MREA business out. That's something that I've really been focused on a lot. So a lot of times now where I would have prospect, being super conscious and super focused on, okay, well, I'm not going to prospect now, I'm going to do this because this is what I need to do to get myself from here to here.
It makes a lot of sense. So just to clarify for people that are listening, because we use things like in the business and on the business. In the business means that you're working to produce leads, you're working to produce income, where on the business is working to get the business actually systematized to where you have more time and leverage to go out and make money or to spend more free time. Did you hire an admin yet?
We hired an admin, just realized that we were not the right fit for each other. We parted ways and now we're slowing down and working to hire the right admin.
Even some of the best will tell you, it's only a 50-50 chance that they're going to work out. So keep swinging the bat on that. Failures. I can't sit here and say this guy's been going on for 6 years and never had a failure. Have you had any failures? What were they?
No.
You're perfect.
The biggest one probably is the first hire that I made. I identified after the fact that I rushed the hiring process and hired the wrong person. Didn't spend the right time in training them. I kept them too long. There's a ton that I learned through that really opened my eyes and identified a lot of areas for improvement.
You said you hired too fast. What do you think you missed during the hiring process?
Gary Keller's super smart guy, laid out exactly how to hire somebody, every single step. And then COVID hit right when it happened, and I've never really went through that process before. Cut corners and did virtual interviews rather than actually this has to be done in person. Skipping steps altogether. Didn't ask the right questions on the interviews, didn't have the interviews properly, and missed some very vital steps that would have uncovered some items that, looking back, were some major issues that we could have seen in the very beginning of the process.
Yes, I've been through it a few times. I think the last EA I hired was probably had 250 applicants, interviewed maybe 10 or 11. And the last one I actually got all the way through. It was an 8-hour interview. So take your time, follow those steps. What do you wish you had known before you started out?
I feel every time that you make a mistake, you learn from it. If you had all the answers to begin with, there'd be a lot of areas you just never really figured out. So, there's tons of things, marketing and things that I tried that hey, this was actually not a good idea, right? The whole interviewing thing, if I knew better at the beginning, I could have avoided a lot of the pitfalls and either hired somebody different, trained better, had a better system built out, or let go of the person that was wrong earlier, right? I also learned so much from that lesson, I wouldn't want to not go through it.
You're better for it, sure.
Your diamonds are always found in failures. Some of the most successful people in the world failed more than anyone else. So
this interview is going to go to newer agents and small team owners, usually that they've hired somebody, and you're in that stage right now where you're going through it. What resource would you need to get through that easier with less effort? You said you made a wrong hire up front. Is hiring that person in your wheelhouse? Do you really like to sit down and hire somebody? Do you like the process?
it's important. It's something that needs to be done. So the question is, where do you want to be in 3, 5, 10 years? And can you get there on your own? So if that answer is yes, then you can avoid hiring. If the answer is no, then it has to be done, and you're going to save yourself a lot of time and effort if you do it right up front. That's why I'm taking my time and working on doing it right this time, because I know where I want to be, and this is a vital step. Just like for newer agents, the number one thing you have to do when you first get this industry is learn how to generate leads. And I love this industry. The way I generate business is 100% not the only way, right? A lot of people don't like how I generate business. A lot of people think it's hard. And I know a lot of super successful agents that have never called any FSBOs, any expireds, and they do just as much, even more business than me. The biggest thing is they generate leads. Whatever that looks like in any form, way, or shape, you have to generate leads.
Leads, listings, and leverage. The leads that you generate, you are focusing on listings, correct?
Correct.
And can you tell me, and I'm sure you know your numbers well, percentage of listings last year from your total? How many did you take?
I have all my numbers in CTE.
If you don't know what CTE is, it's called Commitment to Excellence. It is a great inexpensive.
It's like $30 a month. Going back to your question of what I wish I would known earlier,
Yeah.
tracking. I did not have CTE for my entire process, so my tracking was not as on point. And I think that's something like if you know your numbers, profit and loss, tracking, everything, which you can do all in CTE, then you know where you're going. If not, then you're just kind of a ship without a captain, right? Last year I took, it looks like 50 listings.
50 listings.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many people in your MLS take 50 or more listings?
In the MLS for closed, I know that number. I was number 62 in our MLS.
Okay,
And
excellent.
that includes new home builders.
I discount new home builders from anything I even calculated.
Yeah.
You did 50. I can tell you the last time you were in our market, you did 52. And in our market of 7,500 real estate agents, taking 52 listings, there were maybe 10 other people that took more. What you do on a regular basis is phenomenal. And I think you look at it and go, that's just a day's work. Is that where your head's at? Or are you pushing to say, I got it? Or is it just, I'm sitting down and I'm going to do my work. When my work's over, I'm going to go out and play. Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button or go to www.poweronwardmastermind.com or any of our social media channels at Power Onward. We offer group coaching, single coaching, and consultation services for anybody in the real estate business. Everything you need to take your business to the next level. Give us a call. Now, back to the show.
I like numbers and I like rank. Like I know where I ranked on the MLS and all that fun stuff. Day to day, I know the goals that I have to hit. I never want to compare myself to the average, right? I compare myself to the average agent. They sell 4 or 5 homes a year.
Right.
I stop now. I know my goals, right? So right now is actually the very first time since I've been to Charlotte, I don't have an active listing. They're selling too quickly.
Can I just stop you there? You know my definition of a good listing agent?
None are active.
They have nothing active, right? If you've got 50 listings on the board, guess what? You're not a real good listing agent, if you think about it.
Yeah.
You're a damn good closer if you got 50 on the board, but if you have nothing active or 1 or 2 that are just, out there, that's a good listing agent to me. You're doing great. That's fabulous. So if you've got nothing, what's everybody else doing?
There's a huge, I'm sure you're seeing it too, shortage in inventory. The point of that is I know now like my March is going to be an awesome March, but what you do today is going to feed you in 60 to 90 days. I'm doubling down now to really get some now business and get some new listings. And you also have to kind of skew those numbers, right? Where last year, my average, most listings would sell within 30 days or so. Now, you make them active, they go into contract.
Right.
So you got to kind of make sure you have that and have some coming soon, going active, and just know that you may not have a long days on market. So I'm always looking ahead, which kind of keeps my feet in the ground and sane, because I know that if I stop now, then it's going to be 90 days from now that suffers.
Sure. Strategies. We're in a tight market. What are you using? What's your value proposition? What strategy are you using to take these other listings? Is it because nobody else is calling these people? Or is there something that you're giving of value? People are sitting there saying, I don't want to put my house on the market due to I got no place to go. I don't want to be homeless.
Every client's different. And I think the biggest thing is identifying what their goals are and how you can help align and get them to their goals. That's one thing I mentioned earlier, working on the business rather than in the business. So it was something I identified this year. This year to date, I've taken less listings. Is it that I'm calling less? No. Is it that I'm connecting with less people? No. It's that frankly, there's just not as many, right? If 6 to 7 months ago, I spent more time working on my business, working on other lead generation like farming and things that we've been building out, but being more focused on it than I am now. I'd have some other lead sources that I could pull from at this time, right? So that's something that we're always kind of really focusing on this year as well, as not only now business, but also future business. So we kind of have them both together. If the now business, the physicals that expires decrease a little bit. But talking to them on the phone, right now you have to know that there's going to be less. Right now you have to know that you have to set more appointments with for sale by owners to get a for sale by owner listing. You have to just know that the numbers are going to be different. You're going to have to call more people to get that one listing.
Would you share your call ratio? How many people you got to dial to make an appointment? I know you're only going to make good appointments because you're seasoned. Dials, contacts, down to appointment set to appointment taken, down to however macro you get it, down to I signed it now. Are we dealing with 1,000 dials to get 100 people? Or?
Right now for dials to listing set, I'm at 1,281 dials to get to listing set.
1,280 dials to get one listing set.
Just for comparison, this kind of shows you just like the market we're in, right? Last year I was 541 dials for an appointment set. Like literally, I have to do twice as much to get the same result. Then held 2,136 dials to hold a listing appointment this year.
Wow.
It's fun.
That's a lot of dials. If you're triple dialing, what do you get, 300-400 an hour dials?
Yeah, I mean, this year's a little unique, right? It's an animal that, first of all, not many homes are expiring. So you have to take that into account where there's not as many expired listings, and agent market doesn't react as quickly as the market itself. There are still the same exact amount of people, probably, give or take, calling them this year that were calling them last year, and there's a third.
What I was looking for was to show how many dials it actually is going to take to get one listing, that if you're not using Mojo or Vulcan or something like that, you physically can't dial that many dials in a day. You said you were diversifying your lead generation. It sounded like you were getting into some farming and other pillars.
Yeah, focusing on farming right now, probably the biggest other pillar because I'm super listings focused. 84% of my business last year was listings, which first thing, big issue, right? You should probably close one buyer at least for every listing you have. I'm following the millionaire real estate agent. It's you hire your first admin, you hire your second admin, and then you hire your buyer agent, right? So I'm a little bit away from that, and I know I can easily feed a buyer agent enough leads to have a successful business. So I know that we can easily turn those on because when you have listings, you're able to market for buyers very cheaply. You don't have to buy Zillow leads, you just use your listing. But right now we're focusing on diversifying into farming, kind of putting the most of my time and effort in. 2,500 doors.
How are you doing it? I mean, what's the 6-step, 8-step routine?
The first 8 weeks, I mailed them one postcard per week, and then I put them on a 21-day schedule where they get another postcard every 21 days. It's super cool, right? Because it's actually farming where you don't get calls immediately, but what you do is you become the expert in that area, start getting super easy people calling you, and that's awesome. Invested a lot in that. I do want to start mega open house campaign in that farm. My wife's pregnant. We're going to eventually get her on doing some of those mega open house. She's going to help me on the buyer side a little bit. She's going to get the third trimester soon, so she'll probably start weaning off and back soon.
Good for you. Farms are our old system, but once you get down into that farm and people know you, one of my suggestions was you got to be unique within your farm. You got to be the mayor of that farm area. You're the one that they've got to call when they have a problem. Okay, that's what mayors do. They answer calls about people not parking on their driveway. But what if you took an old beat-up pickup truck? And what does everybody need on a Saturday morning? They need a pickup truck. They're driving around in Lexuses trying to pick up, stuff from Lowe's. They need a pickup truck. Yeah, can I get a pickup truck this morning? Sure. Come on over to my house. It's getting down granular to the people in the neighborhood, which I think whether it's 2,500 or 200, they have to know who you are. Have you thought about the moving van and all that other good stuff that comes along with farming?
Eventually. I think the next thing we'll get into is what you said, being a resource for everything, like creating a Facebook page for a particular neighborhood in the farm, and then having that to be a resource as well, right? Finding different ways. And I think social media is what we'll do. And then eventually we may get to moving truck and stuff like that.
That's just a big billboard for you. Cool, man. So is there anything other than farming that you're spreading into? Radio, TV, billboards?
Yeah, we haven't started that yet. Profit margin, way too profitable. We're focusing on farming. I'm not quite at the point of billboards and all that fun stuff. Sure. I also want a few buyer agents on the team before we kind of get into that marketing. But we've been a lot more purposeful on retaining past clients, drip emails, drip campaigns, keeping up to date, keeping in touch with them to create that past client SOI referral too. But I think this year, I'm going to be able to see in a few months a big jump to SOI and past client referrals from what I had last year.
When I went through it that third year, I mean, all of a sudden, it just shot up with people calling me and saying, hey, we want to do this. My sister wants to do that. And that really is in that third year. You're right on the cusp, it sounds like, of picking all that up. What else you got? Anything else that would help these guys to go forward and build their business in a time of low inventory? Everybody's got buyers.
I think the biggest thing is, Les Brown says, be willing to do the things today others aren't willing to do in order to have the things tomorrow others aren't going to have, right? Know that every day you wake up, your main job is lead generation. And if you want listings, there's no magic pill. I keep Googling best way to get listings, right? Super cheap, answers every time, 100% conversion. It doesn't exist. So you can either pay a ton of money to all these companies and try to get some leads that way, or work on honing your craft, get in front of the people that have already raised their hand and say they want to sell their home. Love it.
100%. Let me ask you, what are you curious about right now? Real estate, life?
Biggest thing is diversifying and getting into investments. When I first moved here, I wanted to be super reserved with monetary funds, but now I'm getting to the point where we do have that consistent business. I'm about to have my best month ever next month. Spending a little bit of time in kind of researching the stock market, researching investments, and knowing I need to sit down and actually spend the time on identifying good rental investment properties, because that's how you really create the life by design down the road. The things, just small things you do today.
There's a great book out there. It's called The $1 Million Real Estate Investor.
That's actually a really good book.
It is a great book. And I want to thank you, Josh, for being with us today. I think a lot of agents are going through what you're going through in a new, for the last year and a half, 18 months, 19 months. You know, you started the business from scratch again, not knowing anybody. You did 54, 55, 56 deals last year, more than made your money. You're ahead of your goals this year, which is great in a down market as far as listings are concerned. How can people get hold of you?
If you want, you can find us on Facebook. I can also put my phone number and email here as well.
Yep.
If you guys ever have any questions, more than happy to help. One of my big things I do, always love giving back and giving a helping hand. If you guys have any questions or are stuck in your business, feel free to reach out and give me a call. And
that's the whole thing. It's about collaboration. That's how we learn. That's how we bring more money into it. So that's Josh Finigan and Finigan Group out of Ballantyne right now, right?
Ballantyne office, KW. So if you know anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in Charlotte, greater Charlotte area, any city surrounding Charlotte, York County, we're here to help.
North Carolina and South Carolina.
Correct. Rock Hill, Mooresville, Troutman, Kings Mountain.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
Greg, it's been awesome chatting with you, bud.
Good seeing you again, man.
You too, man.